Hi, team. I'm Fitz Koehler, your very noisy race announcer and host of the OC Marathon Show. Welcome. Tonight we have an incredible show planned, an expert panel, and I have three super smart, very capable, very experienced women joining us to answer all of your questions. So I'm hoping that everyone feels very communicative tonight because you're going to have the opportunity to comment, ask questions, and ideally, we're going to help you prepare for the races that you're going to run in Orange County in November. So if you haven't registered yet, the OC Half Marathon and OC 5K will take place November 6th and 7th. You can do them both with the combo crush, but prices are increasing tomorrow night. So if you've not registered yet, we want you to do that immediately to get the best price possible. Every runner is going to get the running bib and a stylish shirt and a beautiful medal. And you're going to get free beer at the post-race party and a free Power Crunch bar and the most awesome finish line parties ever. And that's actually one of the coolest thing about the OC Marathon weekend is party, party, party. It's the biggest beach party in the entire state of California. In fact, I also think it's the biggest beach party in my state of Florida because I leave it to come party with y'all. But we have Flashback Heart Attack performing. And it's just such a great time. And for those that are doing the in-person half marathon, everybody gets a quarter zip pullover, which has a $45 value, which they're giving away. I guess the shirt's off their back, but you never hurts to get extra swag. And I'm all about the swag. So once again, if you haven't registered yet, do so before tomorrow night. Tell your friends. Because prices go up. And then even if they wait until later to register, it's worth it once the prices go up. So I'm going to stop talking now. And again, I'm going to invite you guys in with the comment section wherever you are on YouTube or Facebook. Feel free to ask questions. These women are smart. They'll help you through your training. They're going to help you prepare. And we also have a bunch of great giveaways. We're going to be giving away a free race registration or VIP upgrade if you're already registered. And then our friends at Snail's Pace and Marnie, they have some great gifts too. So without further ado, here comes the stars of our show. So first I'm going to bring up Marnie Montiel, and she is a sports dietitian. She has a master's degree. She's an author of 3 different books, including Athlete to Triathlete, Essential Sports Nutrition, and she's a 17-time Ironman finisher. And Marnie and I go way back in. I chose her to be on this panel because she's so smart and she is gimmick free. And if you want to eat wisely and prepare best for your race, you're going to want to meet Marnie. So here she is. Welcome to the show, Marnie.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's so good to see you.
Yeah, I've missed you. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me tonight.
And you're all the way in South Carolina, right?
I am all the way on the East Coast.
On the East Coast. We got the East Coasters. All right. Next up, we have Jessica Craig, who's a doctor of physical therapy. And as many of you know, physical therapy is the way to keep yourself pain-free and not only to help you recover from injuries, but if you're like me and you're smart, you see one to prevent injury. She's also a former collegiate track athlete. Welcome, Jessica Craig.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be
How are
here.
you? Thank you. And you're in Orange County, correct?
Absolutely. Yep. I'm in Orange County. Excited about this race.
And you're a former bodybuilder too, or do you still bodybuild?
I do not still bodybuild. I am still an avid weightlifter and runner. So I love staying active.
All right. And before we went live, you showed me a little bit proof of your bodybuilding. Can we see that?
Oh, I guess so.
Look at that. Very nice.
I like to keep it up.
So good. So good. And then next up is the director of the Snail's Pace Running Academy. And we like to call her the smarty pants of running, but she's an RRCA certified coach. Welcome, Marty Montiel.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you. It's great to be on the show.
We're so happy you're here. And you probably actually know a lot of our runners participating this year, right?
Oh, yeah. We've trained so many runners for so many local races. I can't even begin to tell you how much the numbers are.
Very cool. Very cool. So I'm going to give you each just a few seconds to tell us about you, something that I didn't mention when we got started. Marnie, you go first.
Oh, okay. Well, I live in Greenville, South Carolina, and I am a long distance triathlete. That's my hobby and keeps me super active, and I love it. I have been doing it for a long time, and what keeps me in the sport is the community, and I love being competitive, but I love the people that I get to meet and the places I get to travel to. And so when I'm not training, my full-time job is I am a triathlon coach to an amazing group of athletes, a team that spreads all over the world. And I also do nutrition consultations. And I primarily focus on helping athletes with their race day nutrition, sports nutrition, daily nutrition. So I entirely focus on the athlete spectrum of nutrition, and it's very fulfilling and very rewarding, especially when I can help somebody work through some of their limitations that may be holding them back in training or health or body image, and help them excel on race day.
Yeah, and you're really good at it too, Marnie. So
Well,
thank you for being
I appreciate it.
Of course, of course. And next up, we have Jessica. What do you want to tell everybody about you?
Well, I went to undergraduate school at San Francisco State, got my bachelor's in exercise science and fitness, got my doctorate at Azusa Pacific University, and been working in Southern California for 11 and a half years with athletes, all ages, all walks of life, and really love what I do. So I hope to help with any questions you guys have. Can't wait to meet everybody. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Very cool, Jessica. And then Michelle, the smarty pants of running. What you got for us?
No, I don't feel like smarty pants anymore. You guys are great. No, I've been with Snail's Pace. I just celebrated my 19th year. I've been coaching for 18 and a half of those years. I'm RCA certified. At Snail's Pace, we have a big focus on newer runners, which is great. It's so fulfilling because we coach people anywhere from 5K up to full marathon distance. And it's so rewarding to not only give them the gift of running, but we also incorporate a lot of fitness and strength training to, like we said before, if we're smart, we see it ahead of time and avoid the injuries. So we give them the tools to complete events, but not only that, but complete fitness. So I'm excited to be here. Thanks, guys.
I'm thrilled you're here too. And these little letters after my name, Master's of Exercise and Sports Science, and I'm a sport performance expert. So I'll be contributing as well. And I'm so happy that I'm not the only one preaching strength training and flexibility training, because runners have a bad habit. Runners just run, and that leads to lots of visits to Jessica. So I feel like we're all very much on the same page. So we have some of our audience members reaching out. We've got Susan McFarlane. Hi, Michelle. We've got Kate Coda, Michelle, Celeste. Apparently you're the best, Michelle, what I'm hearing. And Go Snail stuff. It's nice to have fans. So Michelle, I'm actually going to start with you. So we have about, doing the math, I think about 2.5 months till the OC marathon, maybe just a little less. So for our athletes doing the 5K or the half marathon, where should their training be right now?
Right now, so we actually have groups that are training specifically for those events. In our half marathon group, we're at about 6 miles. And for our 5K group, they're at about a 40-minute workout at a walk 3, run 2. So our idea is to get people into running, but do it safely and slowly so that their body can adapt. And like, as I mentioned before, we add strength training and flexibility training to all of our programs to ensure as less likelihood of getting injured as possible.
Yeah. Now going to the injury part of things, Jessica, what are the most common reasons you see runners?
Oh, absolutely. Runners, we see a high incidence of shin splints. We get a lot of Achilles tendonitis, IT band syndrome, runner's knee, plantar fasciitis is one of my favorites. Anything related to repetitive stress, increased pronation, weakness in certain muscle groups, which we could talk about. And I think those are the main ones, but I'm sure you guys have probably come across in your running careers various aches and pains that you might have questions about.
Yeah, and those words you said, it's funny because I feel like people in the endurance community, especially runners, know the words plantar fasciitis and piriformis syndrome and IT band. And those are not words that regular people know. Like if you just go to some neighbor, they probably have no idea what a piriformis is. But runners know what they are because theirs hurts. And so hopefully if people do what we guide them on tonight, they will not have to worry about their piriformis, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
That's right. So getting a little shout out from Rudy Novotny, who is normally my co-announcer for the OC. Big Jerk's going to be somewhere else this year, but thanks, Rudy. What an incredible panel. You are right. And then Ruben has a question, so go ahead and lay it on us, Ruben. Marty.
Yep.
So with food, how important is food going to be in this training process?
Yeah, so we definitely want to think about food as our fuel, but it's also our nourishment. And when I work with athletes and they're training for a long distance event, I really try to separate the two. So I think about what we need to eat on a daily basis to nourish us, to reduce the risk for disease, to kind of take away our athlete title or our active lifestyle. And so we want to build that foundation of wholesome foods and all the food groups. We keep it very simple. Not a fan of any restriction or fad diets. We just want to focus on a wholesome style of eating that works for you as an individual. And then we start to layer. So then we layer on top of it based on the intensity that you're doing with your training, the duration of your training, the type of individual that you are, maybe your previous or current fitness level. And then we just factor all of those things in when we start to layer. So then we focus on, all right, we have our nourishment. Now we need to start to fuel. So we think about what's going on around the workout. We time the nutrition. So we think about pre-workout nutrition, post-workout nutrition. That pre is to help with blood sugar and to provide fuel for to help delay fatigue and hydration. And then after the workout to help with recovery. And then depending on the type of workout, we may include some types of sports nutrition to help with the immune system and to help delay fatigue and to offer electrolytes during that workout. So it's really important for individuals to separate the two, because I think sometimes people eat too healthy around workouts and then they may end up with GI distress. And then other individuals may find that they're just in their athlete diet and they feel like they can eat whatever they want, whenever they want, because they're training for a marathon. So we want to make sure that we kind of have switches on and off.
Yeah, it's interesting to me with, so many people come to me and they say, I just did a marathon and I gained 20 pounds, but they have that mentality of, I'm running a marathon, I can eat whatever they want. And I just think, no, you're running a marathon, or a half or a 5K, whatever it is. But now more than ever, you should focus on nutrition, the concept of working so hard, putting in all the miles, and then just trashing your body at the bar or wherever just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, right?
Yeah. Well, I find that a lot of individuals that they, when you neglect that component of sports nutrition, the body can get very tired and fatigued and stale. And that's when a lot of athletes, especially endurance athletes and those training for the half marathon and the full distance marathon, that when the body starts to get so fatigued and so exhausted, you're still putting in the miles, you're still checking off the workouts, but those adaptations, that change in physiology isn't happening anymore. And so metabolism can start to slow down. You find yourself with more niggles and delayed soreness. So we really want to keep the body sharp and we want to keep that fuel coming in, but at the right times, and understanding how nutrition can work for your body and having a good plan as well.
So this is the thing that stood out for me, Marty, is I just heard two words: stale. I've never heard anyone talk about a stale body, which I love. And then you said niggles, which I'm going to have to figure out what niggles are, but not right now.
Niggles are a step before injuries.
Okay, yeah. Niggles. All right, Michelle. So Ruben has a question for you. He said, I'm running the 5K and the half marathon. Where should I be as far as mileage goes right now? Give him a number.
Okay, so right now I say 7, but if you're doing both events, I would say run like 1 or 2 miles today and then do like 7 tomorrow. Like split it up just like you would. You don't want to take in all the miles at one time. You want to allow the body to adapt, and then as it gets closer to the event, then maybe try to do a shorter run and then a longer run in the same day.
That's good advice. Train the way you perform 2 days in a row, right?
Yep. And I really loved Marnie's information about nutrition. And just, I'd like to throw a question out to her, because most of our runners are newer. They're not as advanced. And we actually are having a nutrition workshop this weekend. A lot of the runners, they're running and they're not eating because they want to lose weight. And we try to explain to them that if you're not going to eat and you're going to run, your body's going to use muscle instead of burning fat. So what would you tell somebody that's telling you, oh, I'm not really eating too much right now because I'm trying to lose weight and using running to lose weight?
Yeah. Well, I'll give people the assurance that by default, as long as you stay healthy and consistent, your body's going to adapt to the stress, the good stress that you're putting on it. And if you take care of it with good nutrition and sleep and recovery and strength training and mobility and everything else that helps you perform day in and day out, the body's going to change. And the body's going to change in a favorable way because it understands what you're doing to it. And it's not intentional under eating. It's not intentional over exercising. It's just training for a marathon or training for a half marathon. So your body is going to change. It may get stronger. You may change your body composition, but that's not the primary goal. What we want to say is you're on a journey with your body. You're taking your body somewhere that it's never been before, and we want to keep it as healthy as possible. So even if somebody wants to lose weight to take some pressure off their knees or to help reduce the risk of disease, running is a great way to do that if it's something that you love, because you'll stick with it. But we don't want it to be the primary reason for you to be exercising day in and day out. And we definitely don't want to be under fueling, because that's going to sabotage your ability to adapt to the training plan that you're trying to stick with.
Great answer. Great question. Nice. I feel like the Brady Bunch. Great job. So, Jessica, I find that a lot of the exercises we do in physical therapy are the same exercises that'll help keep people off of the injured reserve list and out of therapy. So what are the most important things people can be doing as far as strength training and stretching goes to stay off of that injured list?
That is a really good question, because the best way to avoid injury is to prevent injury. For a lot of us, especially if we work at a desk job or spend a lot of time driving or sitting on the couch watching YouTube and Facebook live videos, we have tight hip flexors. So for the most part, I would recommend that majority of runners stretch your hip flexors daily, if not maybe every other day. But I don't recommend stretching total body every day for every muscle group. We do need a little bit of tension in our muscles here and there. So it'd be great to have a physical therapist test you, find out which of your muscles are tight. But hip flexors are a really big one. Calf muscles also quite tight. Stretching your hip flexors and your calves is usually a pretty good idea for most runners. Glute strengthening. You can't have enough glute strengthening. Glute med, TFL, those muscles are really active when you're running. You have to be able to stand on one foot. So if I had to give advice to runners, glute med strengthening, core strength, and stretch those hip flexors and calves.
Yeah, great advice. And for those people going, I don't know how to do that. So I have strength training for runners specific videos right at fitzness.com, and it's free and available, and it targets all the muscles. And then Snail's Pace also offers strength training videos and programs to help you with that. So you don't have to wonder, oh, she said to strength train, I don't know what to do. We have resources for you. I do, Michelle does at Snail's Pace, and there's plenty of others out there too. So never feel like there's not enough information. There's probably overwhelming amount of information, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One other good thing I would want all my runners to be able to do, stand on one foot. If you are really wobbly standing on one foot, you probably need to work on some stabilization strength before you're going to start ramping up those miles to make that half marathon or that marathon happen. So be solid at standing on one foot. Try different angles of bending the knee. Try to make sure that you're pretty solid when you're standing on one foot. If you're real wobbly, chances are you might have some weakness in your lower leg muscles or your glutes that are causing some increased movement that can really lead to injury. So test yourself and work on it daily, because that's an easy one.
Yeah, and for those people thinking, well, that's too easy. Balance training is great for two reasons. Number one, so you don't fall down, right? Balance training is really good. And some of our athletes
for all ages, not just our youngsters.
Trails or cobblestone roads. I mean, there's a bunch of things that hit us while we're out on race day. But also, has anyone ever run the course like hopping 2 feet at a time? The answer is no. We don't do that. We operate on one foot. So just as Jessica was saying, any sort of training you can do on one leg, whether it's lunges or single leg squats or doing the hack squat with one leg, that's going to be appropriate for you and help you perform better on race day.
Absolutely. Love that advice.
Yeah. And it makes your glutes look way better, right?
Right? Most importantly. Gotta wear the shorts on race day, right?
It never hurts. All right. So Marnie, you talked a lot about training or eating and drinking for performance. I'm training for my first marathon. So I'm like these folks, I'm out there figuring it out. You know, what should we be eating before our long training runs? What should we be drinking during it? Help us out.
Well, the common mistake I find in endurance athletes is that they underfuel in training and then they overfuel before and on race day. And there's a few reasons for that. In training, you're, strict schedule, you're trying to squeeze in your workouts early in the morning. Some people are afraid of GI issues or maybe have had bad experience of stomach distress, so they don't want to eat anything, or they're very sensitive with what they eat. There's the topic of body image or wanting to lose weight, as we discussed before. And these are just a few of the reasons why athletes tend to undereat. But then they get to race week and the day before or the race morning, I don't want to run out of energy. And then there's kind of this haphazard plan of eating whatever, I'm supposed to eat lots of carbs or I'm supposed to eat lots of calories. And then the athlete ends up feeling lethargic and uncomfortable because there wasn't a good plan in place. So really what we want to do is to think about eating foods. And what I like to tell people is think about foods that you would eat if you had an upset stomach, or if you're a parent, that you would give to your child if they had a stomach flu. And typically these foods are low in fiber and low in fat because they're easy to digest and they don't create a lot of residue in the gut. So this kind of goes against the healthy eating that I talked about earlier when we kind of separate the two, is that yes, we want healthy fats and high fiber foods in our day-to-day eating, but around our workouts, we want to push those away and introduce foods that aren't going to create that GI distress. So we can start, if somebody has a very sensitive stomach, we can start with something simple like a rice cake and maybe a little smear of peanut butter or butter on it just to give it some substance. We may then move to a banana. So rice cake doesn't have many carbs, so maybe we move to the banana that has a little bit more carbohydrate. Again, we smear a little peanut butter, nut butter on there, maybe a drizzle of honey. And then we can take it a step up. Maybe we do an English muffin or a plain bagel, so a little bit more carbohydrates and still topping it with a little fat or protein. And then we can work our way up to maybe oatmeal or grits or a bagel. So now we've got that more energy dense carbohydrate base that we can then transfer over to race day, easy to digest and giving us the fuel that we need. So it's really important for people to work their way up and figure out what works well for them and to practice it over and over again in your training so that you feel comfortable with it. You understand how much time it takes you to digest it until you feel like, okay, I went to the bathroom, my stomach feels light and empty, and I'm not going to have any stomach cramping or issues during the workout. And then you've got your plan for race day, and that should help with confidence, which will decrease some nerves on race day as well.
Yeah, that's practice for the way you perform. Food too. So for all of our audience members out there, I want you guys to use the comment section and tell us what your favorite pre-race or pre-run snack, food, meal. What do you like to eat before you go for your long runs? We want to know. I'm sure people are going to hit us with some really good ideas out there.
And I will offer some advice for people to think about also where you're staying for your race. If you're at an Airbnb that has a kitchen, or are you in a hotel that all you have is a coffee maker or maybe a microwave? So we want to also think about things that we can repeat on race day based on what you have or what you don't have where you're staying.
Yeah, that's really wise, because you never know what you're going to get, right? You got to be prepared. You got to be prepared.
Kelsey commented. Yay, Kelsey.
Yeah, Kelsey Peterson. She's the program director for OC Marathon. She's a peanut butter girl.
Toast is simple. I like it. Yep.
Toasted bagel on the go. Keep them coming, guys.
Yeah, we don't want to make it complicated.
Michelle, question for you. So how do people figure out how fast they're going to run? You know, everybody feels like when I go out for a run, I have to run as fast as I can, but that's not really the truth. So how do they figure out their own pace?
Okay, so as I mentioned, we primarily deal with newer runners, but we do when we first start the program, we do a fitness analysis and kind of get their pace at a comfortable level, run comfortably, and then we actually implement run-walk method so that people can build their miles and still get plenty of recovery. So that changes throughout the program, and that's where you have the coach to be there and to kind of see what you're doing in terms of your pace, how you're breathing, how your foot strike, how your gait is, and then they can kind of determine from that where you should be. But if you're on your own, I would say you want to be at a comfortable conversational pace. You don't want to overdo it and then, be out of energy in the beginning of the race, the beginning of your run. So no, you don't have to run as fast as you can for as long as you can. Walk breaks are great. You're your best friend.
Gary.
Yeah,
Gary.
Yeah, Gary. The bagels for the win so far. I'm also a bagel girl. Half a bagel with cream cheese for me. All right. Question for you, Jessica, from Lily and Craig. What can a person do to help knee pain before and after a run?
Before and after a run. I love that question. A great thing to do is a good warm-up. With knee pain, a lot of times we see a lot of what we talked about earlier, hip flexor tightness, and also quadricep tightness, which can kind of increase the pressure right behind the kneecap. So a nice little warm up, loosen up jog, stretching out those hip flexors and quads, as well as the calves. Again, releasing some of the tension around the knee joint. Don't forget your glute stretches. I tend personally not to do a ton of stretching before my run. I think that makes me feel kind of loose and a little bit lethargic. I'll do more of a dynamic warm up before running, which I bet we could get some good tips from Michelle there. And some of the things I find really important following a run, really focus on that glute stretching. Make sure that IT band is stretched out pretty well. You can do some IT band stretches or some foam rolling. As well as something I really like is sitting on your feet. It sounds kind of funny, but get on the floor, sit down on your feet. And what that does is it maximally kind of stretches out the ligaments surrounding our knee joints. And they've done tons of studies of patients that have had to have hip and knee replacements. And what we find is a really high incidence in countries like America, where we sit in chairs quite a bit, and much lower incidence in those countries where they squat to use the toilet, sit on the floor to eat a meal, like in Japan, where you might be sitting on the floor more often. So that extra stretch to the joints and the ligaments really helps to keep the circulation and the structures around the knee moving. So that plus not neglecting your gluteal strength. So when we move back to standing on one foot, standing on one foot is one thing, but being able to maintain, if you're looking at your waistline, right where your pants hit, that should be a nice straight line. If you see when you're standing on one foot, that hip start to tilt one way or the other, chances are you have a little bit of glute med weakness. So you might see that funny exercise at the gym where people have a band around the knees and they're like walking sideways. That is actually a really great exercise for strengthening those glutes, which will help you with knee pain quite a bit.
Absolutely. Great tips. Now, Jessica, I'm going to stick with you for a minute because I have a bit of a pet peeve. And I do believe in taping, but I believe in taping intentionally with good reason. So on occasion, we'll see a line of athletes at a taping booth, and the tapers, the people wielding the tape, are hourly wage employees, not athletic trainers. And they don't actually know why the person's knee hurts. They're taping up. Feel about random people being taped by non-professionals. And before a race? I mean, what do you think about that?
As far as taping goes, taping can help. Hopefully, by the time you're running a race, you've addressed some of the structural issues before just jumping into a race and requiring that extra support. A lot of people do find that taping can give them a little bit of ease from their discomfort. But again, you don't want to really do a lot of high mileage running, relying on tape to kind of fix your imbalances. So you really want to have a movement specialist, either exercise physiologist or physical therapist, observe your movement and assess where you're losing that strength to make the corrections appropriately. As far as having tape done, I would hope that somebody would at least have like a certification course, not just blindly, oh, this looks like it should help your issue. So I don't know. I haven't seen these areas where people are taping without that background. I know a lot of physical therapists who are quite skilled at, like taking the rock tape courses and things like that.
Sure.
I do agree with can help temporarily ease the discomfort that you might be feeling with maybe an excess pronation or a patellar tracking issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually quite a complicated skill if done well with good intention, but it's important to know why your knee hurts. Your knee may hurt because your hips are out of alignment or your ankles are stuck, and it may have nothing to do with your knee. So I want people to go to you to figure out why they have pain and to do all of these strength training exercises, because really the best choice is just to not have the pain, right?
Exactly. For the most part, by the time you have pain, you've already had this movement impairment for quite some time. You can move poorly for quite a long time before you actually get wear and tear enough that pain is going to start. So if you're to the point where you're having pain, it is a good idea to get some expert advice, either a physical therapist, go see an orthopedic if you feel like maybe you might be at risk for, Achilles rupture or stress fracture. I mean, you can get some serious injuries if you just think you're going to run through it. It might not be the wisest idea.
Yeah, no, it's good advice. Good advice. All right, Marnie, let's talk beverages. Hydration.
Beverages, just sitting on the beach, chilling.
Yeah, let's talk about cocktails. Yeah, I mean, there's the argument. People say, I don't want to have Gatorade. There's sugar in there, and I don't want Powerade, or I can't do just water. What do you suggest we drink?
Yeah. Well, I'm a big proponent of wholesome foods, right? I want foods that nature created, minimally processed. I think that's very important that we appreciate real food. But I'm also a fan of sports nutrition. And the reason why is because sports nutrition products are scientifically created with a lot of research backing them up, at least the well-known brands that are out there. And there's a lot more smaller companies that I think are doing a fantastic job with their sports nutrition products. But the products that are out there, they're engineered in a way that they have a formulation with carbohydrates, electrolytes, and fluids, if they're in a powder and need to be mixed with water, or if they're in a different form, that when they're consumed, that they are able to be digested and absorbed without causing stomach distress. And there's a whole lot more science that can go into that, but that's kind of the simple term, is that they're well formulated. Now, that doesn't mean that, okay, well, I go to a running store and I can just pick up a product and it will work because Marty said that this is well formulated product. There still is an application piece to sports nutrition products. But to answer your question about the sugar, sugar is actually a really good fuel. But we don't want to be relying on that sugar when we're sitting in the office for a pick-me-up. We want it when our body is going to be using it efficiently and readily, and we can then take it in small quantities to help support the training that we're doing. So it's not that sports nutrition is bad for you. It's making sure that you're using it appropriately and keeping a good relationship with that sports nutrition product, that it's there to help you perform better and to serve its purpose, which generally it's to provide carbohydrates to your working muscle and to support your central nervous system, your brain. It's also there to provide electrolytes, specifically sodium, when you're sweating and losing fluids. And then it's also there to provide water as well, or using water as an additional source because of our sweating.
So how do you balance, or what's your advice for balancing intake to make sure we're not dehydrated and we can enjoy all those benefits, but also so we're not running to the porta potties every 3 miles, and also so we don't overhydrate? Or is there a mathematical formula we could use for our body size, for our mileage?
Yeah, so interestingly, when it comes to sports nutrition intake, we don't need to rely on our weight. So somebody that is 150 pounds would be very similar to somebody who is 200 pounds. It's more about how efficient they are, their fitness level, the intensity that they're able to work out at or to train at. So there's a lot more that goes into it, but we really don't need to make it that complicated. What we want to really think about is to take something in frequently, so every 10 to 15 minutes, because when we take it in small amounts, it's a lot easier to digest and absorb. So that's my first tip. Frequently and consistently, every 10 to 15 minutes, small amounts. The second tip is to think about products that are more on the dilute side or hypotonic side. So when we think about something like a gel or blocks or a bar, we have this concentrated carbohydrate source. But then we have to say, well, where do we get our water from? Where do we get our fluid from? Because that fluid, it plays a really important role in the digestion of the carbohydrate. And unfortunately, all these products like gels and blocks and bars, they also don't have a lot of sodium in them as well. So even if you take in a gel every 10 to 15 minutes or 45 minutes, you might still be falling short on fluids or electrolytes, and it might just be too much for your body to handle. So I encourage athletes to rely more on liquid calories, because it's kind of like a one-stop shop. You get your liquids, your fluids or water, you get your electrolytes, and you get your carbohydrates. And all you have to do is just drink. Now, the problem that a lot of marathoners run into is, well, how do I carry it then? It's so much easier to just carry a gel or a thing of blocks. And I'm a big proponent and fan of hydration belts or hydration packs. I feel like they've come really far in terms of being much more comfortable and fitting all types of body sizes and shapes. And also it allows you to drink on your own schedule. So then you're not reliant on just the aid stations, that you can stick to your own strategy based on what works well for you when you want to be drinking. So that's my advice. And by practicing it and training your gut, just like you train your muscles, you can hopefully reduce the risk of those GI issues on race day.
Yeah, no surprises on race day. For our viewers out there, would love for you to put in your favorite electrolyte beverage. What do you drink while you're out training? Water, Gatorade, Powerade, whatever it is we want to know about. Because again, you guys always have great ideas. So, Michelle, for our folks that are just getting started, maybe our first timers, maybe they're in North Dakota right now and don't have access to snail's pace. What is your advice for them to get started and stay on a training schedule and stay accountable?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So as far as snail's pace, what's interesting is that during the pandemic, we learned to be very creative. So we actually have a whole virtual training program, and it has all of this. So it has the nutrition information. It has the videos I made with the strength training. And I love what we all said, single-legged exercises, single-legged exercises. You're running, you're on a single leg for extended period of time. We also do gait analysis. We also do videos on nutrition. We also do the dynamic warm-up. We do the post-run stretches of addressing the hip flexors, the glutes, the calves. So even if you're not in California, you can still be a part of a snail's pace. And no matter what your pace is, you can still be part of it. So in terms of just getting off the couch, get out there, start with a walk. Add a little bit of running to it. Like we mentioned before, run-walk method is great for people that are just starting. It allows your body to adapt and less likelihood to have injuries. And I love what we're talking about in nutrition information. Yes, practice what you're going to do on race day. Bring the stuff that you're going to use because you don't know what they're going to have at the race. What if it doesn't agree with your stomach? We're all on the same page, which is great. We should all just be coaching together, and we'd have like an amazing group of athletes.
I like
They'd all be at the Olympics. So that's my advice.
And I'm glad you mentioned the dynamic stretching video because I was going to ask you, what do you recommend people do pre-race or pre-run, I should say, forget race?
Yeah, exactly. So each time we do a warm-up, we actually have the video and a handout. So like I said, we just got super creative. I got super creative during the pandemic. So I made a very complete package. So you have the video of the warm-up, a handout to go with it, but it's primarily addressing a lot of the lower body muscles, the glutes, the calves, just moving, and as opposed to too much static stretching, and just getting the blood flowing to the muscles that you're going to be using. I don't like to do too much static stretching because I feel like it pulls the muscles away from the joint that you're going to be using for running endurance. If you're running shorter distance, absolutely. But if you're going to be doing endurance, like a half marathon, you don't want to do too much of that static stretching because you want to keep the muscles able to recruit so that you can go a longer distance and not feel like we mentioned, too loosey-goosey.
Agreed. And so for layman's terms, static stretching is when you hold the stretch, you just hold, stay there, wince, go a little further. That's usually better after you've exercised and got your heart rate up. And so dynamic stretching would be like kicking your legs up at a low level or kicking your tushy with your heels and active motion. Yeah, active stretching, going through a bigger range of motion. Layman's terms, always layman's terms, right? Tammy Giordano's. Great advice, Coach Michelle. Absolutely. She's a smarty pants. All right. So, Jessica, so there's going to be some people in 6 weeks, guaranteed, they're going to be training and something's going to happen. They're going to freak out because their foot hurts or their knee hurts or something hurts. And they're going to think, I need to keep training, even though it hurts, because I have to prepare. So what is your advice for managing not a break, but pain before a race, getting through it so you can get back and participate?
Yes, this is where cross training is very important. If you're not a professional runner, it is not recommended that you run every single day. It is more recommended that you run maybe 3-4 days a week. Spend the other days, work on your stability exercises, do some planks, do some single leg, your lunges, your step ups. You're standing on one foot. Maybe you could take a yoga class or something. Swimming is great because that keeps your cardiovascular exercise up. Marty probably could tell you a lot about because she's a triathlete. That's one of the great things about being a triathlete. You bike some days, you run, you swim. It's a really great mixture of exercises that will keep your cardiovascular system up, but also prevent injury. Another thing we haven't really talked about is your shoes. Shoes are a huge part of staying injury-free. If you have been running in the same shoe for, I don't know how long people are overusing their shoes. It just really depends on how much you weigh and how much mileage you're putting in and the quality of the shoe itself. If you look at I had a shoe somewhere here, but if you look at the back of the shoe and you set the shoes down, you should see that the shoe is relatively, here we go. When you look at your shoes, if you set them on this flat surface, like your kitchen counter, well, maybe not your kitchen counter, maybe a bathroom counter, somewhere it could get dirty. And you see that the back of your shoe here is straight up and down. When you get the shoe from the store, this is going to be a perfectly straight shoe. When you've run, a few hundred miles in the thing, you're going to see maybe the heel is worn down on one side. You're going to sit it flat on that counter space and see that it's maybe sitting like a little bit crooked. What that does is it's going to push you further into your impairment. So if you're hitting the side of your foot over and over, it's going to keep pushing you further and further into that dysfunction. So you want to make sure to replace your shoes every 300 miles or so.
I like that.
Probably help you with something like that.
That's great advice. And I think that's a good vision. It pushes you further into your impairment. So you really do need to have a fresh pair. You wouldn't go driving your family on a long vacation on bald tires. So
right. And you could ask maybe Marty, a good question would be how many pairs of running shoes do you alternate your running shoes, which most experienced runners will tend to maybe have 2 or 3 pairs of shoes where they switch off each day. What about you, Marty?
Yeah, I have several pairs of shoes for sure, especially since I'm running a marathon after I've swam and biked in a long distance triathlon. We definitely want something that's responsive, but also has a little bit of cushion as well. And also I want to say that I'm a huge fan of the run walk strategy. Not so much on a set schedule, but I don't think that walking is failing. It's not failing to run. It's part of your plan and it helps you run better. But yeah, with running shoes, finding what works best for your feet and not being married to just one style or one brand of shoe is so good for your feet, and just giving them the opportunity to just mold into a variety of different shoes.
Yeah, brilliant. And a good reminder for our viewers, never wear a new pair on race day. Make sure you've practiced for a few weeks. And Snail's Pace, you guys have all the shoes.
We do. We actually have some locations. And we go through a 5-fit process. We actually have a 3D foot scanner, which scans the foot, gives us a lot of information. And then you go into a in-motion pressure point measurement, and then we actually put you on the treadmill, videotape you, look at your gait. Then with all that information, we figure out what category of shoe is correct for you. Once we know what category is correct for you, then we will bring out multiple brands and have you try them on and see what fits your foot the best. So it's an entire process. It takes about half an hour. If you come to the store, you can set an appointment, or you can just come right on in. But be prepared to spend some time and to be picky. Is my suggestion.
So it's not just that one is the prettiest color, I'm gonna get it.
Nope. No. Sometimes you get lucky and the prettiest one is the one that's the right one for you. But you kind of have to be blind to the shoe and just kind of like be looking for that Cinderella shoe. Right.
And here's the other thing. On occasion, I'll get kind of ugly running shoes because I know I won't wear them anywhere else but running. So I won't go to the mall in ugly running shoes. So if you get a gross pair, then if they feel good running them, and then you'll put on your sandals to go to the theme park or whatever, right?
Yes, keep your running shoes just for running.
Just for running. All right, Michelle, let's do a giveaway because we've had so many of our viewers have stuck with us for quite a while. So let's start with the coffee mug, which I think is very, very funny, and we're going to address that. So it's Snail's Pace coffee mug and some coffee beans. It's special Snail's Pace coffee beans. And what does it say? Hold it closer. Coffee, poop, and run.
And then there's the beans, special blend just for Snail's Pace, made at a place in Huntington Beach, so local to Orange County.
Local Orange County coffee. All right. Got to have your coffee before you run. I actually don't drink coffee, which is like
Neither do I.
Blasphemy in the running community, but everybody
Green
else
tea.
seems to love it. All right. So our question for this giveaway is, how many locations does Snail's Pace have in Southern California? First one to give me that answer gets the coffee mug and the coffee beans. And it's not your cat, Marnie. Your cat cannot win this prize. All right. First one up. What? Oh, geez, that's not the first one. This was the first one. There's a lot of people coming in. And Cook Gonzalez Rodriguez. Congratulations. 4 is the answer, correct?
Yep, it is.
All right. So we do, yay. Everybody, all our panelists clap for Cook. Yay. But following Cook, we had quite a few other people who knew it. Susan was just slightly off. Penny, I love the participation. All right. And now Marnie is going to do a giveaway because Marnie has some of her books up. So let's pair the 2 different books together. What are their names, Marnie?
I have the Essential Sports Nutrition, which all about sports nutrition for active individuals and athletes, and it also has a lot of recipes in there for before, during, after, and on rest days. And then I have a running journal, which will be perfect. I know people are perfect for this group, but people love the digital stuff, but I still love the old-fashioned paper and pencil or pen. And we have some articles in here, quotes, as well as places that you can journal all of your fantastic running or walking or exercise miles.
I love it. I love it. And actually, I have that, and it's fantastic. So thank you, Marnie. So Marnie has actually a very challenging question to ask everybody, but this is what she thought of. So we're going to go with it. Marnie, ask your question. The first person to get this answer correctly wins those 2 books.
Yeah, without Googling it, is when was the first energy gel created? And you can either say the year or the brand.
Oh, boy.
Honor system, people.
When was the first energy gel created? The year or by whom?
What was the first energy gel?
All right. And so the answers are going to come, but I don't actually know I know the year, but I don't know the name of the brand. So Marty, I'm going to put these answers on the screen and you're going to have to yes or no them. So David Kuntz, who I love, says Power Bar. We're talking about energy gels, right?
Yep. That's
okay.
Not correct.
Jean.
I could be wrong, but according to, the internet.
Right. The internet.
Earlier than
you Googled it.
Right.
1997.
No.
Cook says Tire Bar.
No.
Lillian says Goo.
Yeah. So, spelled goo, G-U,
right.
But that's pretty close. Yeah. So that's kind of what we think about when we say energy gel, or a lot of people do say goose, right? And so that was in 1991, and they were kind of claimed as the first energy gel out in California.
Well, congratulations, Lillian. She was the first to come up with Goo, even though it was spelled wrong.
And I will sign these for you. I'll just get your address and send them your way.
Wonderful. And for our winners of these prizes, I want everyone to email info@ocmarathon.com. I'm posting that on Facebook and YouTube. But we have quite a few good guesses. So Jason was next up with the proper spelling, but Linda, 1996, 86. I love this Gatorade. So here's a little trivia. I am partial to Gatorade, not necessarily because I love it the most, but because I'm a Gator. Gatorade was actually created to keep the Florida Gator football team hydrated in the hot Florida summer. So how about that?
Oh, no, Fitz. I'm a big fan of Miami Hurricanes. Sorry.
That
I'm a
one.
San Francisco Gator, so I'm also a Gator.
Okay. I'm actually a fan of all schools that help people become productive parts of society. So I can say go Noles and go Dogs and go Hurricanes. Even.
You don't want to say that.
That's right. Jessica's team is the Anteaters, which I just saw an anteater at a zoo, which was really, really fun. All right. So Rudy Novotny, Noisy Rudy, has a question for you. It says, for Jessica, I'm 3 weeks into recovery from hip replacement. What's the safest, smartest way to get back into running?
Oh, this is a good question because we actually talked about this a few times today. Run walking. So and there's a kind of a typical protocol out there, which you can kind of look up, and I'm sure Snail's Pace probably has a few of these ways to get started, but running 1 minute, walk 1 minute, run 1 minute, walk 1 minute. There's some different variations on that, like running, 1 minute, walk 5 minutes, run 2 minutes, walk 5 minutes, and adding on each week. But the real thing that you want to do is make sure you start slowly. Again, standing on one foot, making sure you've got that stability of that new hip. I'm sure you've probably done quite a bit of therapy by this point, but building up very slowly with your mileage and focusing on your stabilization exercises on the days that you're not doing your running.
Yeah, Rudy needs to be restrained. That's what he needs.
I've heard a lot of patients that are running after hip replacement. So it's really encouraging to know that, if you weren't genetically gifted with those good hips that last a lifetime, that you can still get a hip replacement and keep on going. So way to go, Rudy. Yeah, it's running and walking out there.
Yeah, he's a superstar, and it hasn't affected his ability to run at the mouth at all. He's still.
Oh, poor Rudy.
I know, poor Rudy.
Probably make him a great announcer.
He's an extraordinary announcer. He's the best. He's the best. I'm very fortunate to work with Rudy for sure. So I want to talk about just a few questions for you guys. So what is your favorite gear? Like if you were going to go out for a run with only one thing besides your shoes, what would it be? We're starting with you, Marnie.
Oh, I would say my running belt, a naked running band, where I store my hydration in. So I always run with hydration, doesn't matter how long or short of a run it is. And I put 1 or 2 flasks in it, depending on the run, but it's something that's part of me. So it's kind of like a running watch that I feel comfortable when I wear it every time. So that's my go-to.
Okay. All right. And what about you, Michelle?
Same thing. I actually have a Nathan water vest that I wear no matter if I'm going 1 mile or 20 miles. It's so comfortable that I can carry my phone and carry all my necessities. And it's a great thing to have.
Hydration. And Jessica?
I cannot run without my music. I have got to have something good, something to pump me up. Occasionally I'll be listening to a podcast or audiobook, but I love just a good beat, something that's fast paced, helps me just tune into my legs and my pace, and just keeps me happy. I love music, so I can't go anywhere without my headphones when I'm running.
Yeah, I'm with you. And so I would have to say hydration because it's freaking hot over here and sticky. However, I'm going to throw out sunscreen because I'm a nerdy Floridian, and you got to wear your sunscreen. And I think people forget that, especially they start a race in the dark in the morning, and then at 10 o'clock, they've got the red nose and they're very.
That's why you look so good. She wears her sunscreen.
Well, thank you. That's so nice. Maybe there's a good filter haze over my camera, but I appreciate that as well. So folks, we're coming to the end of the show. So if you're out there and you have any good questions for our panelists, please ask them now or forever hold your peace. So I have a couple more questions for each of you. We're going to do some rapid responses, hopefully. But Marnie, the night before your race, what are we eating?
So typically my biggest meal the day before a race is usually breakfast. That way I have time to digest it throughout the day. And then dinner is usually a lighter meal. So I'm usually doing some kind of bagels, granola, waffles, some yogurt for breakfast. But lately for my triathlons, my lunch has been a can of no chicken noodle soup from Amy's, nice and salty and really easy to eat. And I pair that with a bag of microwave rice. So it's something I can eat in a hotel room. And so that is really simple, and it worked for one race, so I keep doing it. And I think rituals are something that works really well for athletes. So once you find something that works, you kind of stick with it until it doesn't work.
So what about people having lots of pasta the night before? Is that a good idea too?
I would say more for 2 nights out, because that way you have time to digest it. And we never want to eat too much too close to bed either. So we don't need to overeat on the pasta. Our body does a fantastic job storing carbohydrates at every meal, so we don't need to overdo it. But I would say in terms of carbo loading, which is very important for a marathon, start in the morning hours and then just taper off as the day goes on. You'll sleep a lot better. And when your alarm goes off at 3 a.m. for your marathon, you may not have a full appetite, but you're not going to be so full from that night before meal.
Very, very good. Okay. So you said the word taper, and that's where I was going next with Michelle. Susan McFarlane wants to know, she hears about tapering. Can you explain this?
Yeah, tapering is, you want to think about a horse that's getting ready to run a race. You want to scale back like 2 weeks ahead of time so that you're just chomping at the bits and your muscles have the time to recover, and you've added better nutrition and you've been hydrating. So you taper about 2 weeks out. You go your highest mileage, 12 miles for a half marathon. Then you go 8, then you go 6, and then you have your event. So now you're ready and you're just ready to go, and you're just excited, and your body is ready as well.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. And then Jessica, we didn't talk about recovery tools. So a lot of people have foam rollers and Theraguns. What are your favorites to prevent, manage pain, and keep people feeling fresh and good post-race?
Post-race, I like a lot. That's when you're going to do your static stretching. Post-race, do some good glute stretching, hip flexor stretching, calf stretching. That after the running is when you want to do your static stretching. Just like Michelle said, dynamic before, static after.
And I misspoke, because yes, that was what I was going for post race. But what are the tools you would suggest people invest in? Probably could go snail space to get them for recovery and staying.
A lot of people like those Theraguns. They're kind of fun. I've used a few of the Theraguns on patients, especially the more muscular men or on people with extremely tight IT bands. It's a really great tool for working on glutes and IT bands. It's always more fun if you have somebody to work it out for you. There you go. So yeah, I do like those. You want to make sure you have someone that's not going to be too cruel with it and hit you right on the bones, because that's not not as much fun. But yeah, I would say the Theragun and the foam roller. Foam rollers are great for getting into your glutes and IT bands. So I bet, can you get those at Snail's Pace as well? I'm sure you could. Great.
And Snail's Pace.
and Snail's Pace will have a big booth at our expo at OC Marathon, correct?
Yes.
Good. So if you're
guess who's pacing the OC half marathon? Snail's Pace.
Snail's Pace.
Oh,
I love the Snail's Pace pacers. They are great. They really are a lot of help. So if anybody hasn't used them, you jump in right where you think you want to kind of finish that race, and they're so helpful and so friendly too. Yeah. So if anyone's out there and doesn't know what a pacer is, a pacer is someone that will help you get to the finish line in your hopeful time, as long as you've prepared for it. So if you haven't prepared to run an hour and a half marathon, there's nothing they can do. But if you've prepared, if you run along and walk along with them, they will get you to the finish line on time. And it's very weird. Rudy and I look at each other with wonder and confusion every time this happens, because I don't know how you could get yourself to a place like that in exactly the right time, but it's very interesting and very helpful. And you don't have to sign up and you don't have to pay anything. You just show up and you look for the person with the little flag with your goal time on it, and then you introduce yourself, and it all works out really well that way. We had another question. Oh, Jason Craig, how long should I wait before running after a stress fracture in a metatarsal? Jessica? That is a good question. Each person is quite a bit different. I happen to know Jason Craig has very large feet. He might need to rest a little bit longer than other folks. That is something where you will have to follow up with your orthopedic doctor, because you may need to have another X-ray to determine if you're properly healing from that injury. So if you are dealing with something like a stress fracture, that is when you're going to spend the extra time to do some strengthening exercises with your feet, whether it's those, crunching a towel with your toes and, picking up marbles and standing on one foot, those kind of things. This is your time to heal and let that bone properly recover fully before you start running again. Also a great time to get in the swimming pool, swim some laps. That'll help you keep your cardiovascular endurance up. And then once you've been cleared by your doctor, then you get back into that running. By jumping in too soon, you really run the risk of flaring it back up and then having to start from scratch, which is the most annoying thing if you're a runner. You may also, if you've got your shoes and you have a stress fracture in the, kind of in the metatarsal area, which is those long bones in your feet, what you're going to do is you might want to look for a shoe that might be a little stiffer. When you bend like your shoe like this, if you have one of those, kind of minimalistic shoes and you can curl it into a ball, probably not the best type of shoe for someone who is getting a lot of stress in the midfoot. You may need to look for something where you try to kind of bend it or twist it and it's kind of holding its structure. That's going to protect your foot a little bit more and prevent you from getting that injury, because if you tend to have more movement in your midfoot, you don't want to be doing high repetitions of stress on that foot. Hope that helps, Jason.
Oh, that's super helpful, in fact.
Oh, there you go.
Hoka.
And Hoka's, that's a great shoe for someone who might be suffering from a stress fracture in the foot, or maybe some, overpronation, plantar fasciitis, or Achilles tendon issues.
Yeah, and we can all agree that folks shouldn't necessarily be a slave to a brand. It's nice to have one that you love and appreciate, but your needs may change from month to year to whatever. So, be flexible and go with the footwear that works for you. Jason says, thank you, Jessica.
I would say when it comes to shoes, that shoe, right when you put it on, you jog in the store, that should feel amazing on your foot. If that shoe does not instantly feel great on your foot when you're jogging up and down that shoe store, it's probably not a good shoe for you. So keep that in mind. Go with your instinct. It's always usually pretty right on.
Cinderella slipper.
Cinderella slipper, exactly.
The perfect shoe. Okay, so we're going back to you and our giveaways. In fact, we're going to hit up both of you with the giveaways and then go with the final question to give away the either OC race entry or VIP upgrade, which is pretty cool. So, Marnie, I want you to think of another nutrition question. You got that?
Yeah.
Can you think of? All right. We're going first with snail's pace. Michelle has both a men's shirt and a women's shirt. So I want to start with the women's shirt. So if you would like to win the woman's shirt, whether it's for you or your lady or you want to wear whatever, woman's shirt first. And we are going to ask a question. Hopefully everybody knows we just had one of our American women take home silver in the marathon in Tokyo. Who was that woman? Name that woman.
Think, hold my beer. Come on. I know you guys know this. By the way, Fitz, one of the girls, Susan, wasn't entirely wrong because Snail's Pace owns the New Balance store in South Coast Plaza, but it's not called Snail's Pace. It's a franchise, so we have to go with New Balance. So Susan actually was correct.
So there's technically 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, she wasn't first.
It's okay. I know Susan, so I'll give her something.
Oh, geez. So close, David. No, it's not Sievert. And there's DeMarie. Molly. It's Molly. Who do I give it to? Because David said Molly Sievert. It's Molly Seidel. Which are we going with?
No,
I'm gonna go with DeMarie because it's a women's shirt. So congratulations, DeMarie. You won it for not screwing up the last name. Although you were close, David. You're so close. But now you get to answer the men's question. And we had 3 men participate in the marathon in Tokyo for America. Who was the first the American who finished the highest, the best, our best finisher? American man, top finisher for our country in the marathon.
I know people are Googling this right now.
I know. I love this guy too. This guy is so into strength training. That's one of the things I love most about him is he sprang onto this scene and he won the Olympic trials in Los Angeles, first marathon. All right. Close enough, Dave. Galen Rupp. But I like rump. That would be fun. And probably beautiful rump. But yeah, that was Galen Rupp. And I think he was 9th. Can anyone confirm? Was he 9th? Yes, your cat says yes, Marnie. So for sure. Congratulations, David. Galen Rump. The leading man. Okay, so your Snail's Pace shirts have been given away, and if you've won one of these shirts, DeMarie, David, email info@OC Marathon. We'll get your contact information and get you your gear. Now, Marnie, have you come up with a nutrition question?
Yes. How much fluid should somebody drink on a daily basis in ounces?
That's a good question. How much fluid?
It can be a range.
Range. Oh my gosh.
Which it's really important to pay attention to this because a lot of times people will be dehydrated and they'll go into a workout dehydrated and you're already putting yourself behind. So we want to make sure we keep up with our daily hydration throughout the day. And we also don't want to catch up at nighttime because then you'll just end up having to go to the bathroom when you're sleeping.
Right. Yes.
So 64,
all right. So
that's actually low. So we want to get a little bit higher.
Okay. So we've got a few 64s coming in.
Although typically people do say, 8 ounces, but it's actually higher than that. Half their weight. Well, it depends on what your weight is. But these are all good answers to get people started. 36, that's low. We want to get it up higher.
Oh boy. This is a
Everybody's going with the 8x8.
I think it was the year I was born. So
128 ounces?
Now we're getting up there. So it's actually less than that, but that's pretty close.
This is very tricky. I don't even know the answer to this. So,
and all of the fluid doesn't have to come from water. We want about 80% of that amount from water. So I would say that 110 is a good guess. So we could give that to Tammy. It's 90 to 120 ounces.
Okay. Good range. Wow. 90 to 120.
So keep your water bottles with you all day.
All right.
By the way, Tammy is one of my coaches, so I'm glad that she knew the right answer. Good job, Coach.
Good job, Tammy.
Air high five.
Lead by example.
Congratulations. And right behind her, Linda came in quick with a good 96.
Good. Yeah.
Leaders. Yeah. Everyone's got really good guesses. Wow. 100-ish. 100-ish ounces.
Well, okay. Cat Montiel put 72
of that from water. The rest can be, fruits, soups, teas, coffee. And that doesn't include what you drink during workouts too.
Oh boy. And DeMarie wants to know, is that amount for everybody?
That's typically for women, 90 ounces and up to about 120 ounces for men. So I would say for everybody, if you can try to get up to 90 ounces, then you're going to be well hydrated. But it also, if you're peeing every hour excessively, then I would say maybe we bring that down or we add a little bit of sodium to the diet. But for most people, I think you'll feel a lot better if we try to bring up your normal intake. If you're over the 120 ounces, then we actually might want to bring it down a little bit.
Okay. That's one of my big concerns at Boston. I feel like, oh God, I don't want to have to pull off and pee, right?
Well, luckily your kidneys shut down a little bit when you're running. So you may have to go to the bathroom before, but other things take priority when you're running.
Okay, that's hopeful. That's very good news. Okay, and so this will be our final giveaway of the evening. I've got all of your giveaway items, correct?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, good. All right, this one will be for an OC half marathon or 5K race entry. So you choose which you would like to participate in. If you are already registered, this will be for a VIP upgrade. And the VIP upgrades not only is something you can win, but you can also purchase that as an add-on, and you get access to most killer post-race VIP tents. So it's amazing food and beverages, and it's so leisurely and wonderful. And it's right next to my stage. So I can go in to get food, but I can't stay and enjoy because I have to work. So I see everybody having a great time. So the VIP tent is a very cool win. Okay, so this is our big win for the OC Marathon. What year was the first OC Marathon? What year? And if you get the month too, I'll give you an extra hug at the finish line. And Marnie, Lily wants to know if your cat is a sprinter.
I had the door cracked and both these kittens made their way in. And
So
the
fun.
senior dog is getting his sleep.
Is that Campy?
Yes.
My most beloved little dog ever. So cute.
Yes, the cats are sprinters.
Oh my gosh, nobody knows this answer. Come on, friends. What year was the first OC Marathon? And if you guess the month, you get an extra hug. Lillian really likes your pets. Linda Love got it right. It was 2004, and the actual month was December. So congratulations, Linda. Linda, are you already registered, or will this be an upgrade or a registration? Wanting to know. All right. As she answers, I'm going to take time to thank all three of you. I really appreciate you coming on. I know the Gary Kutcher and Kelsey Peterson with OC Marathon are really excited. Linda's already registered, so this will be a VIP upgrade for her. So congratulations. I will look forward to seeing you looking very fancy and posh in the tent post-race. Where can everyone find you? So Marty, you go first. Tell people how they can catch up with you and learn more.
Sure. You can contact me or find more about me at trymarniecoach.com is my website. And I'm active on Instagram. So if you need more cat pictures or dog pictures, they pop up every now and then. But I'm active on Instagram, Try Marnie, and then on my Try Marnie Coaching and Nutrition Facebook page.
Thank you. Thank you. And Jessica?
You can email me questions at jcraigdpt@gmail.com, or you can find me on Instagram at jcraigdpt.
All right. I just threw up your email address, Jessica, and your website, Marnie, and Michelle. How do people get involved with the Snail's Pace Running Academy?
So super easy. It's asnailspace.net. We have our store, our club, our academy, our online sales, all on asnailspace.net.
Fabulous. And you guys have beautiful stores. And I had a book signing there in the fall. And it was actually at two of your stores, and they were fantastic. And too much stuff. Every time I went inside, I spent more money. So you got lots of great gear there. And I appreciate that you're willing to bring in athletes from around the country and the world in your virtual training program, because we can all train the OC together.
Yes. And you can still join the classes that are currently going on in person. So you can check that out at asnailspace.net.
All right. All right. Thanks, everyone. Marnie, Jessica, Michelle, to all of our audience. We can't wait to see you. That's November 6th and 7th. If you haven't registered yet, go to ocmarathon.com. And remember, prices increase tomorrow night. So jump on it. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.